standing ovation. You may sit down now. How's everybody doing? I'm so excited to be here tonight at Live Oak Baptist Church, which I thought would be in Live Oak, and it's not, just so you all know. But happy to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me to come out tonight. I'm super excited. I'm known as Mama C, and I'm going to just jump right into it. The reason I'm known as Mama C is because there was a Mama G before me. And that's her. Okay? Now, you can take one look at my mama, and you're going to say, boy, she was happy. Right? She was happy. Is this going to work this way? We ain't working. Oh, there she is. Now, that was young Mama G. Still smiling. Still smiling. And that was old Mama G at the happiest place on earth. And as you can see, she's still smiling. Like this. No, my mom had a rough life. And my mom was such a spiritual woman. My mother read and prayed every single day. I grew up watching that. But the one thing where she kind of let me down a little bit was she was not a happy person. My mom just was not happy. She was kind of a negative Nancy. But I should tell you that she had 8 kids in a time where there were no clothes dryers. And not only were there no clothes dryers, but her wash machine sat out in the yard. And they came like little doorsteps. They were like boom, 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 boom. That was the first 7. And then 10 years later, it was, hello! And Mama C was born. Now, I never appreciated in my whole life my mother until I turned 42 years old. And that's how old my mama was when she had me. And suddenly I had an entirely different opinion of what a mother at 42 looked like, okay? Especially when you got 7 others. I was in my brother's, Billy's, wedding picture, okay? In my mama's belly. I could not find the picture, but in that picture she was going. It was more like, that was my mom. So I can't really hold it against my mother that she was a little soured on life because she just really had so much going on all the time that it was never, when I look back and I think about it, I think, how in the world did she ever, in a million years, how was she able to do what she was able to do? Now that right there is Mama C when she was a little girl. I don't know why my mama cut my bangs that short. It was hideous. But my mama thought I was beautiful. She had taken me to a barber. I got that haircut. That was known as a pixie cut. I got that at a barber shop. And she thought I was beautiful. Little did she know that I wasn't that cute. Now, my mother was a very, 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 very strong disciplinarian. You have to be when you have 8 kids. You have to have control. So my mom grew this plant called a bridal wreath. That's what you see with those pretty white flowers. That's a bridal wreath plant. Those things are grown for one purpose and one purpose only in the South. And it is not for a wedding. They are grown as switches. My mother would go out into the yard and pull those things back, reach down in there and grab one, saw it off, and I could just watch the flowers being flung off the bridal wreath. And I knew I had messed up because there was a switching coming. So I grew up with discipline. Now, you would think then that Mama C would be a disciplinarian, but au contraire, because what we do as parents is we either turn out exactly like our parents or exactly opposite of our parents. So I just had all kinds of chaos growing up in my household. My kids were growing up, I pretty much let them get away with murder. And when we get further into the story, you'll see that was not the appropriate reaction to that. Now, on the other side of that screen, you'll see some really tall plants. Those were also grown for disciplinary purposes. That is bamboo. Now, I don't know if any of you know anything about bamboo, but bamboo's hard. And she never whipped me with it, but what my mother would do is she would go outside and she would cut off a piece of bamboo. She had 2 nails in the dining room over the door. And she would hang a piece of bamboo over the door. I'm telling you, she was a terrorist, a modern-day terrorist, because I would get sassy, and my mom would look at me, and she'd look up at the dining room door. And she'd look back at me, and she'd look at the dining room door. And I knew I better zip my lip, because she was about to come after me. So that thing hung over that door there for a long time, and I'm thankful that she never got after me with it. But I have such a great appreciation for my mother now as a woman of 60, because I'm 60 years old. And I just started doing this. This is actually my second performance, so y'all going to have to get a little livelier and laugh a little more, because, you know, I gotta keep going. But, yeah, I'm 60, and suddenly every time I look in the mirror, I see my mama. I mean, my sister's here, Goggy. That's Goggy right there. Her name is Rhoda, but I couldn't say Rhoda, so I called her Goggy. She loves it. Everybody after tonight, call her Goggy. When you shake her hand, hey, Goggy, hey, Goggy. She loves it. I have her paged every year we go out Christmas shopping. If I lose her, I go straight up to the front and say, yes, could you page Goggy Nelson to the front, please? And every time I see the same little tiny sister coming out going, because she does not like Goggy. But I called her Goggy. I pushed her out of the proverbial cradle. So she had been the wonder child for 10 years. I mean, she was the good little girl, the cute little girl, the sweet little girl, and then here comes Cindy. And I took this foot and went, boom! Because all those other siblings went, oh, ain't she cute? Look, she's so cute. Goggy was my only sister, didn't think I was cute. She did not love me. She loves me now, but I'm pretty sure she did not love me because, you know, my mom would take me to the grocery store and leave her at home. And she'd cry about that. But I have to tell you, she was 13 years old when that was happening. I said, suck it up and get over it. You're 13. You don't need to go to the grocery store. Yeah, she's still crying about it. Exactly. Still crying about it after all this time. But, yeah, I booted her right out of the cradle. That was my job. And then, you know, when I was born, I tell everybody I was born a poor white girl. I grew up on beans and rice and beans. That's because I had a bunch of sisters. I had 4 sisters. And my mom worked, so all of my sisters took care of the household, and they took care of me, and they took care of the cooking and the cleaning and everything, which basically meant that they sat on their cans all day long until about 15 minutes before Mama's car was supposed to pull in the driveway, and then they ran out and did everything really in a hurry. Rhoda was primarily one of the cooks, and Rhoda could cook really, really, really good beans and rice, or rice and tomatoes. But if you had rice and tomatoes today, tomorrow you had tomatoes and rice. Because she cooked rice every single day. To this day, if I hadn't lost a bunch of weight, my eyes were still like this. I'm telling you, from eating so much rice. The other thing that messed with me is that right there is what we used as a car seat when I was a youngin'. Can you imagine today if somebody from Nassau County Sheriff's Office pulled you over and you had your grandchild sitting in that contraption? You would be on the news. They would be telling you what in the world's wrong with you. All my mom and them cared about was I could see over the seat. I could see above the dashboard. I'd put bonk, bonk, bonk. It's got a little gear shift over there. Bonk, 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 bonk. One day, no lie, my mother told me this. Thank goodness I didn't know what was going on. My mother's in her 1957 Chevy driving around with me in a said car seat. Notice there's no strap. So I'm in said car seat. My mama's driving, and she sees a snake coming up through the floorboard. And she had to get the car off the road and get me out of the car seat before the snake got in the car. Well, obviously it wasn't that much work to get me out of the car seat. All she had to do was just reach over and lift the thing up and take her out. You get a snake in your car today, it'll take you 4 days to get your kid out of the car seat. Do not let that happen. And if you're a grandparent, it might take you a solid week, because I don't get it. I don't get car seats. I don't understand them. All these levers and pull these two together and stick them in there and plank this up here, and then the kid is sitting in the seat like, I'm like, can you breathe? I'm not a real big intelligent-wise when it comes to car seats, not kind of my thing. Now, I played in the dirt growing up. Yes, it's hard to believe now. I was a dirty child. Primarily because my sisters locked me out of the house when Mama left to work and didn't let me back in until that 15-minute time zone right before she came back in. So I played outside a lot. And my nephew, Steve, this young lady right here, she broke Steve finally. She's finally reined him in, thank goodness. But Steve, we were the same age. There's just a few months difference in our ages. And so I thought I was a boy. I mean, I hung around with Steve-O. If you see him, if he comes back to church, just call him Steve-O, because he really likes that name too. About as much as Skoggy likes Skoggy, Steve-O loves to be called Steve-O. And Steve-O and I, we would just get outside and we would just play in the dirt like there was no tomorrow. I would actually put myself underneath our house. Underneath the house. It would be hot, you know. No air conditioning back then. We didn't have air conditioning. We had plastic curtains. You can't have air conditioning and plastic curtains in the same house. Anybody else have any plastic curtains, or am I the only one? Let me tell you, you could get a pair, you know, like you could get them at Murphy's or Grant's. They're like 39 cents a pair for a pair of drapes. I'm saying we go back to that, because it's spending $2,000 to have your window covering. That's ridiculous. But no, we get underneath that house, and we build little roads in the dirt with the spiders and whatever else was under there. We didn't care. I can remember coming inside, or trying to come inside, and my mom would go, whoa, stop, right there. And she'd take that water hose. It was like a fire hydrant hose. I mean, it's like, hand you a towel and say, now dry it before you come inside. Because it was a different world that we lived in then than we live in today. Today, kids don't go outside. I have a whole bunch of grandkids. I have 12 grandchildren through kind of a strange situation, but 12 of them. And you know, when they come to the house, they plop down in the living room. We've got a big old sectional sofa. They plop down in there and they start pulling stuff out and playing with this, and they're playing with that, and they got the clicker on the TV. If you say go outside, the first thing that they say, we getting in the pool? Because that's the only reason they go outside. If the pool is not involved, they're not going. Just not going to have it. And they don't really understand what they're missing, because growing up outside makes you tough. I am convinced to this day that I ate enough dirt when I was a little girl that I didn't have to worry about all these probiotic stuff all the rest of these people are taking. I got plenty of gut bacteria. It's still in there. I probably ate 2 50-pound bags of dirt in my life. There's all kinds of stuff crawling around in there. I don't need to go take some fancy pill for that. But kids today aren't getting it. They don't get that. They don't get to go outside. They don't get to build immunity. That's my new word for it. When my kids come out, I say, go outside and build some immunity. Just going out there, hang out outside. It's hot. Oh, yeah, global warming. It's hotter now than it was then. No. No, that's not playing with Nana, because it was hot then too. Every day we used to go outside. My mama would shell peas on the front porch. It was like a daily thing. You know, she'd be sitting out there in that old web chair with that bowl in her lap, shelling peas. And, you know, I'd get to put the snaps in because she didn't like the way I shelled them. So I'd pop off and throw a snap bean in there every now and then. And then it would rain, it'd cool things off. The only problem is we lived in Norwood. And I don't know if any of y'all know where Norwood is in Jacksonville, Florida, but let me tell you something. There's a big old paint company down there that was on the end of Crestwood Street. And one of the reasons why I'm so messed up today is because I lived on the corner. And I smelled that smell my whole life. Those fumes were everywhere. I'm sure that the reason I can't remember anything doesn't have anything to do with the fact that I'm 60 years old. It's because of that stinking paint company. They went out of business or something, so I can't sue them. I'm just stuck old and stupid. But let me tell you something. The other thing I used to do too, Moncrief Creek had a little runoff back there right by the Glidden Paint Company. And so we'd take our bicycles down there. Me and Steve-O, see, he's messed up too. You just don't know it yet. It ain't showed up. He's a few months younger than me. We'd ride our bikes, and you get down to the creek, and there'd be all these magic colors in the water where the paint company was running all that stuff off in the creek. And we, smart like we were, we'd take our bicycle and we'd just make some pathways through there. We'd throw our feet down in there and kick it around. I'm telling you, that's why I messed up. But I'm okay with it, though, because if I wasn't just a little bit crazy, I wouldn't be happy. I wouldn't be happy because, believe it or not, being crazy is one of my favorite things in the world to do. I know that Alzheimer's is a bad thing. I work with seniors. I know it's a bad thing. But, I think it's kind of cool in the sense because you just get crazy and you don't know it. You don't know what's going on. Everybody else is suffering, but you just, in your own world. And so you can do things like take off all your clothes and walk down the street. I had a neighbor that did it. She just, and running down the street she went, just streaking. Oh, that's not pretty. That's not pretty. When you're hitting 80 years old and you yank all them clothes off, it don't still look like 60. I can tell you all that right now. 60 ain't pretty, but 80, no, you don't want to do that. You want to keep your clothes on, ladies, especially for tonight's performance. I'd appreciate if nobody did that because you get a bigger laugh than me and I wouldn't like it. So I've always had a big imagination. It's not something that I just stepped into. It was like my whole life because we grew up with baby dolls. Remember baby dolls? Girls don't play with baby dolls no more. For a while they played with Barbie, but they don't play with Barbie anymore either. I got granddaughters saying, "Oh no, that's stupid. I don't do that." No. But we play with baby dolls, and man, I used to beat the tar out of mine. Because we'd go to church. I had a little room upstairs, a little playroom. I'd take my babies to church. There would be nobody there with us. But we'd sit in church. I'd have my baby on my lap. She'd start sassing me. I'd spank her right away. So that prepared me in life, though, when I got my first child. I just decided, I can just really mess her up if I want to. I got married at 19 years old. Let me tell you something. Call everybody you know. Tell them don't do that. Don't get married at 19. Because the problem is, number one, you ain't smart yet. But the man you are about to take as your life partner, unless he is about 20 years older than you, he is still an infant. So I'm going to tell you, it ain't pretty. You get married at 19, you don't know what you're getting into. My mama told me, I remember the day I went over there and showed her my engagement ring. She was working at Gateway Mall in the GNC. I said, "Mama, look." Mama being, Mama G, she said, "It takes two to get married." Well, I didn't buy this thing for myself. I thought you would. That's ridiculous. You don't need to marry him. Y'all are nothing alike. Don't do it. Well, I had dropped out of nursing school. I had gone to school to be a nurse, and I was about 18 months into a 24-month program on a scholarship. This will show you just how Glidden messed me up, okay? I was messed up. On a scholarship, 24-month program, 18 months in, and I just went, nah, I don't want to be a nurse. I'd rather get married. I'd rather just quit school. I got plenty of excuses. I remember I went to my mama. I broke her heart when I told her I was not going to be a nurse. I regret that to this day. I could have figured out some better way to do it, but I pretty much just pranced in and said, "I quit. I'm not going to school anymore. I can't stand it." And so the excuse I used with her was, "Mom, I just don't think I'd be a good nurse. I think I would be like a C nurse instead of an A nurse." Now, what you see up here is a nurse and a doctor. I really did believe I was going to be more like the couple on the top. I'd be that nurse. And now that I'm older and I've had some surgeries and stuff, I don't want to wake up from surgery and see that nurse. I want to see that one. So it was a real good idea that I didn't go and get my degree. I went ahead and married my husband. I call him his cheatness. I'll let you figure out why. I was married to that man for 27 long years. And he cheated the whole time. The whole time. And I was just a big old dummy. I didn't know. I kind of knew, but I didn't want to know. So I just kind of blanked it out of my mind like it didn't happen. That didn't happen. That didn't really happen. He loves me. Well, I had a wake-up call when I was about 42 years old. 42 years old, I finally get it. I called my girlfriend. I'm like, "Hey, you think he's cheating on me again?" She's like, "What is wrong with you? He never stopped." Well, he met this woman that he said needed him. And she did, because she was a crack addict. I kid you not. He left me for a crackhead. I got news news for you. If you're already low on intelligence and self-esteem, let your husband leave you for a crackhead. You'll be on the bottom. You'll be down on the bottom of the floor. You won't be nowhere near the top. And that's where I stayed, Betty. I was on the bottom. And I just said to myself, you know what? I could either lay down and be miserable the rest of my life, or I can get up, shake myself off, and go do every fun thing I ever wanted to do in my whole life and didn't do because I was married. And I did. And I ain't proud of it. Because I got saved when I was 9 years old. Don't ever, ever, ever let anybody discount a child being saved. Because a lot of people will see a little child and they'll say, oh, no, they don't know what they're doing. Don't let that little kid go down to the altar. They don't know what they're doing. I got saved in a community center, sitting on the front row with 2 homeless preachers preaching the gospel. I got saved right there. And I was 9 years old. And I tell you what, I've had some great moments with God, but that will always be my best. It will always be my best. And I tried being a good girl. I tried being a good girl when I was married to his cheatiness, but it was really hard. So when he left, I went, God, really? I gave this man 27 years of my life, cooked, cleaned, did all the fun stuff, and now he leaves? Well, I'm just going to go have a good time. So I ran from God like you ain't never seen nobody run from God before. And you know what? No matter how hard and how fast I ran, he was right behind me. Right behind me. I couldn't give up. I would get so depressed that I would go, what is this? I remember one time I was sitting in a bar. Isn't that great? Isn't that classy? I was sitting in a bar, intoxicated, yes, and I sat there with all my friends. They were all having a good time and laughing and slinging back shots and patting me on the back and wanting to know if I wanted to get up on the bar and dance with them. And I got up and went to the bathroom. And I sat in the bathroom in a bar and cried because I couldn't figure out what I was doing there. What am I doing here? What am I doing here? Well, during that time period in my life, I have to tell you that I was not a nice person. I was that person that if I came through your drive-thru and you got my order wrong, I put that car in reverse. I would slide back to your drive-in window, roll my window down, hand the bag out the side, and go, are you kidding me? It was ugly. I'd go through the grocery store line. Man, if you didn't say thank you to me, I'd go, hey, you're welcome. You're welcome. And you're going to be real thankful that you don't lose your job when I get through talking to your boss. I was a mean, bitter, awful person. Now, God has a way of dealing with stuff like that, though. He has a way of making sure that we're on the right track, if you will. Because he'll give you a little rope. He'll say, go on, do that. Yep, go ahead, do that. Yep, go on, girl, get that, go get it. Yep, go, have a good time. Yeah, go on. And then one day, he'll go, no, he ain't going to yank you back and make you fall down. He'll just go, oop, that's not you. That's not what I created you for. And for me, that moment came when my kids got grown. It came when my kids got grown because Mama C did not do a real good job of raising her kids because she was bitter all that time. So my daughter's an angel, by the way. I think I got a picture on here of her. Let me see if I can get this. This is not clicking. Could it be? Oh, there. Look. That's my baby girl, Christy. That's the cutest little note. Christy was a little con artist because I took her to Pizza Hut one time when she was about 18, 19 months old with my mama, Mama G, Mama C. We were in the Pizza Hut. And she is eating pizza, and she is not eating the crust. And my mama looked at her and said, Christy, honey, you got to eat the crust. The crust is what makes you pretty. Well, Christy sat there a few minutes, and then she tugged on my shirt. She said, Mama. I said, yes. She said, am I pretty? I said, yeah, baby, you're beautiful. She said, I'm through with crust. I mean, you didn't pull anything over this child. Her entire life, you couldn't pull anything over, but she was always like the little model child. She was always a good girl. Well, there was that few weeks right around her 16th birthday, I bought her a car, and she thought, whoop, I'm free as a breeze now. I can do whatever I want. And then Mama said, give me the keys. And then she straightened right back up. But this was a note that she wrote me when she was young. She said, I love you, Mom, and you don't have to pay me for cleaning the room, all right? Yes, you're going to pay me, or no, you're not. She wanted an answer right away. You're going to pay me? You don't have to pay me. Don't we do the same thing with God? Don't we do that sometimes? He gives us all, He's given us gifts like gifts. And then suddenly we want something else. And we brazenly start asking for it. Before we even appreciate what He's already given us, we're already, hey, what can I get next? Maybe I get a little bit of money. Get this comedy thing going on the road here, make me a little money. That's kind of the way it is. But then I had this child. Now, I thought that baby was beautiful. And he is cute. But everywhere we went, people told me he looked like an orangutan. And if you look real close, he kind of does. He had the biggest old head. I ain't lying. It was huge. Still got a big head. But this one was my undoing. Because God sent me that first one. He knew what He was doing. He sent me Christy first. Because He said, here's one to try out. And then I was walking around going, oh, I'm such a good mama. I can take this baby anywhere. I can sit her down in the seat at the restaurant, and she'll sit there and eat her little food and be quiet. Not like the kids said, you go to the restaurant today, and no matter where you go, there's always one screaming sitting right next to you. There'll be 1,700 empty seats. They're going to park the seat right next to you with that screaming kid. I guarantee it happens to me all the time. Well, just about the time I thought I knew everything about parenting, I get this child. This is a different species. He is, quite frankly, I'm sure, part monkey. He could climb out of his crib when he was nowhere near a year old. He could just shimmy down the side. He'd be out, with peanut butter in the living room. I mean, you never knew what he was going to do, what he was going to get into. And I should have kind of had a clue that meant there was more coming. He was a biter. Oh, mercy. He was quiet and sneaky about it, too. It's like if you had something he wanted, he would just reach that hand out and take you by the hand like he was going to kiss you and then go until you turn loose of it. He did outgrow it. Of course, he was going to First Coast High School when that finally happened, but no, he outgrew it long before he went to school. But Missy, my niece, she had a son that was just a year or so younger than Drew. He was the victim because, he was smaller, and Drew would let him take whatever he had, and then the minute he got it, and then we'd hear Trey, ah! screaming like a monkey. But yeah, this is the child, though, that went on to prove to me that being a parent is not all that easy. His cheatiness left when this one was 16 years old. 16 years old. That's a really important time in a young man's life. So my son took one look at me and went, my mama's crazy. She's going through her little thing, because I was. I'm free as a breeze. I can do whatever I want. She's going to be out late at night. She's not going to know what I'm doing. And so I'm just going to do everything I want to do. And subsequently, he did. Well, I eventually came to my senses. But it's interesting that during the whole time that my son was really involved in some bad stuff, he became addicted to drugs. He got arrested for burglary. I mean, he was on Nassau County's most wanted list. I'm going to tell you, there ain't nothing that makes your hair on the back of your neck stand up than to be shopping somewhere, your phone ring, and somebody say to you, hey, I'm looking through Nassau County's most wanted list, and a picture of your son's in there. So I'm calling him, hey, why is your picture? I don't know, Mom. I don't know. There's no reason I haven't done anything. I'm clean. I'm this, I'm another. He didn't know. Yeah, right. But during that time, now I'm running from God. Right? I'm running as hard and as fast as I can run. I don't want nothing to do with God because I'm not going to change who I am. I'm just going to be bitter and mean and ugly. But during that time, when my son was drug addicted, I started praying for him. Now, ain't that ironic? I'm praying for my son. I'm running around sinning every day, but I'm praying for him. I'm like, God, please, just send him a little Catholic girl. Just send him a little Catholic girl. Somebody that'll just beat him into submission because that's what I thought they did. I didn't know. I wasn't raised a Catholic. I didn't know. I thought they'd just beat him up and make him mind or something. Well, the interesting thing, my daughter's not here tonight. My daughter's a youth pastor at our church, and they're at camp. So that's why my church family's not here, because they're all coming home tonight, and I don't get to see them get off the bus because I'm here trying to make y'all laugh. Don't y'all feel bad about that? But anyway, yeah, my son, I was praying, just please, 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 just please help him. Please help him. One night I'm laying in my bed saying that prayer, and I pick up the phone and call my daughter, Christy. I'm like, hey, what you doing? She's like, just getting out what I'm going to wear to church tomorrow. I'm like, church? You're going to church? Excuse me? She goes, Mom, you really need to start going to church. You need to get straightened out. And I'm like, have you lost your mind? I'm perfectly happy, just like I am. I just want to get Drew. Will you call your brother and get your brother to go with you? She's like, no, Mom, I'm not going to call him. If you want him to go, you call him. Well, I laid there on that bed, and suddenly I heard a voice that said, you don't need to worry about your son. You need to worry about yourself. And that was my next real communication with God. It's that kind of communication where you're laying in your bed and you tingle all over and the hair on the back of your neck stands up and you know God is speaking to you. There's no doubt in your mind that he's speaking. So I got up the next day and I woke up. My new husband, which, by the way, his name is His Sweetness. His Sweetness, I did meet and marry another person. I'm not condoning divorce. I did get divorced. When I married my husband this time, I did a little different shopping. I did a lot different shopping. And I believe if my mother was alive today, she would absolutely love my husband. I know Goggy loves him. She has to because, she's still alive. So, but when I woke him up that morning, I said, hey, I want to go to church over there where Christy's going. And he said, I'm a Catholic. I was born a Catholic. I'll die a Catholic, but I'll go with you. I said, okay, let's go. So we took off. And you should have seen Christy's face when the doors opened and her mother starts walking in. Now, I'm going to show you just how I walked in. Down over there in the back. No, I don't want to sit there. Sit back here. So I get over there in my seat and I cross my legs and I'm going, I can't wait for this show to start. And boy, was it a show, because I'd been brought up in a traditional church. I did not know anything about new music and lighting and music. I was scared, slapped to death. And the first thing that they did was they showed a little clip of a video how God used the broken, the miserable, the angry, the murderer, the rapist. He used the dregs of society to continue his work. And I went, maybe he could work on me. And I'm proud to say that I never stopped going. I got back in touch with God. My son came and subsequently got baptized and actually went to jail to serve time after he started going back to church, because that's when his case came up. And we had to take him to the Nassau. I didn't. His Sweetness took him for me. Is that a good man or what? Because I couldn't take him. But he talked to me on the phone. He said, Mom, don't worry. Don't worry. This is my consequence. Man, it don't get no better than that. And now he's just thriving. He's doing great. He's been clean and sober now for about 3.5 years, which is a big deal for him because he had quite a pill habit. So really, 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 really happy about that. Now, enough about the family. I'm going to switch gears here a little bit. Tell you one other little story, though, about in relationship to our relationship with God and how it's the same with kids. First of all, aren't you glad that he loves us just like a father loves his children? Is there any better love in the world than the way a parent loves a child? Because I'm about to tell you some stuff, and when you hear these stories, you'll go, wow, man, she must have really loved those kookaburras. Little Christy, who was such a sweet thing and so smart, I watched her do something one time, and I just had to watch it unfold. And I'm sitting there as she's doing it going, she ain't going to do that. No, she ain't. No, yeah, yep, she's going to do it. I was at Goggy's house, and Goggy had an above-ground pool, and Chrissy was good with the little swimmies, and we were in the house, and she was out in the pool. And I see her come up on the deck, and she's taking her swimmies off. So I'm starting to get like a little motherly anxious, like I better go out to the back porch because I don't know if she's liable to jump in, and I got to get where I can get her. And then I noticed that she was trying to put them on her ankles. And I thought, I'm just going to watch this play out. So she did, and I can't do it because I'm 60. But she took that little head down there and pulled that foot up and blew that thing up, and then she put the other one. She goes over to the edge of the pool, and she goes, woo! And all you can see are two little feet. Two little feet. And, of course, I have to dive in and get the kid because I guess she wasn't as bright as I thought. But that's a good example of using something in a way it was not intended to be used. And you know, we still do that today as Christians, don't we? We have a gifting. Some people are gifted for music. They're not using it to worship God with. Some people are gifted with comedy. And they just get up and be funny and they don't bring God into it at all. There are all kinds of giftings that we've been given. And if you're sitting on your gift, that's one thing. But if you're using your gift for something other than what it was intended, that's really bad. I found out that I have some giftings that I didn't know I had. First of all, I'm a germaphobe, and I now run the food ministry at our church. And when I first found out we were going to have to go downtown and touch homeless people, that was a shocker to me. And it was even more of a shocker when I got down there that day. The first day I went, and this woman with this afro, and I am not exaggerating. I'll take anybody that wants to go down there and see her. I'll take you down there and meet her. She's got an afro that's about this big. It's every color in the rainbow. It's where she's just sewed pieces of wig together, so it's really big. And it kind of moves with her, and she's crazy. She's so out of her gourd. But when she reached out and took me by the hand and just grunted a few times, and I was able to say a prayer with her, I wasn't afraid of what might get on me at that point. All that other stuff was gone. God fixed that. And so now I go down there, and I don't even take my antibacterial with me anymore. I just go. Now, I will be honest, when I get home, I do take a bath in Lysol, but while I'm out there with them, I don't. I just deal with it. So, one time, I almost killed a cat over Christy. We had a little Siamese kitty. He was real cute. I grew up, my mother raised Siamese cats. We always had one. And I loved little Siamese kitties. They were so sweet. And everybody kept saying, those cats are mean. But I had to get one, so I got a little kitty for Christy. And he wasn't very old. And then we're outside in the yard, and I looked over there, and that cat has attached itself to the back of my child's leg. And it's just digging at her legs. And she's screaming and dancing and trying to kick the cat off. And I will have to say motherly instinct took over, and I just about killed the kitty. I was really angry at the kitty, let's just say that. And I got the kitty off of her. Well, Christy must have been paying attention because she had a similar story with her kids. She was outside in the yard, and she saw a snake over by her son. She goes tearing off over there, and her son has a Nerf sword. Anybody know what a Nerf sword is? It's this little piece of foam goes like this. I'm proud to tell you that my daughter killed a snake with a Nerf sword. You got to be good to do that. She learned from the best. She took that snake. You couldn't even recognize that was a snake when she got through beating him to smithereens. But she protected her son from him. So she learned a little bit from Mama G or Mama C. Now, another thing that I've noticed just about how we are as Christians and how it relates to what we do in real life, my middle name is actually not Grace, but I'm going to tell you that my middle name is Grace because I can fall standing still. I've actually done it. I walked in my boss's office. I worked one time for a gentleman that was president of the ministry for Jacksonville, homeless ministry for the city of Jacksonville, so City Rescue Mission. And so I'm standing in his office in my little business suit, my little high heels, looking real cute. And he's talking to me, and I turned this way, and I fell into the trash can in his office. This trash can about this big. I fell into it. As in, when I went to try to get myself up, it was attached to my derriere. And I had to try to get up off of there. Now, since that time, I have fallen many times. I just did it recently. I always try to fall when there's an audience, though. I was really a little bit scared when they came over here and they said, okay, you can walk to here, and then you can walk over to here. And I'm like, that's good, because if I get anywhere near that corner right there, I'll fall down, I guarantee you. I will fall down. I just recently fell in the parking lot of the place where I work, again in my business suit. And I'm walking so confidently by because, all the windows are there, and everybody's looking at you. So, I'm really walking like I got this thing under control. And I go to my car, and sitting in the car next to mine, this is going to show that I still got flesh, is a man. And he's nice looking. I'm just going to tell you, he was a good looking man. And I went to take a step off the curb. And I rolled about 4 times. This curb is this big. This is not like a high step curb. I stepped and I went down and I rolled over. Well, what do you do when you fall down? You immediately try to get up, right? You want to get up as quick as you can. That's the rule. You want to get up as quick as you can. Now, when you're little, kids fall on purpose. You see little kids, like my grandson does it. He'll go to sliding on my wood floors and just fall down. And then he gets up and goes and does it again. Just fall on purpose. But when you're old, and they jump right up. But when you're old, you don't jump up as fast. You want to jump up, but you cannot. And I'm thinking, okay, this man just saw me fall. I'm going to get in my van really quick, and he won't even know I fell down. No. I'm trying to crawl and grab my door handle when I see this really nice hand reach down. And he lifts me up. And it made it worse because he goes, ma'am, are you okay? You took a nasty fall. I mean, he's talking to me like I've got Alzheimer's. You took a really nasty fall. I'm like, I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm trying to, and it was cold, so I had on hose. I got a big hole in my hose. My knee's bleeding. I'm trying to put weight on my ankle. I can't, but I'm trying to anyway. Like, it didn't hurt. I'm fine. And so I get in the car, and of course I ended up having to go to the emergency room because I had a little fracture in my ankle. But that story, the significance of it is, why is it that when we fall down, we want to lay there? As Christians, that's what we do. And I mean good Christians do this too. It's not just bad Christians, just so you know. It's all Christian people do this. We get our feelings hurt. Easy. Oh, man. Christians wear their feelings right here on their sleeve. And if you just, we hurt now. We hurt. And then instead of just going, oh, that was nothing. That's a little nothing. Then we start getting in our little bed of self-pity. And then the next thing you know, we don't go to church that Sunday. Or if we do go to church, we sit in the back. We don't talk to anybody. We want everybody to know we're angry. But we don't want to, not in a bad way. We just want them all to know the other person's crazy. But we lay down and waller in that hole. Why? When all we got to do is get back up. Because every time you fall down, that hand, it's already stretched out. It's already right there saying, here, come on, let me get you out of that hole. Instead we go, no, I don't want to get up. I like it down here in my hole. It's dark and cool. Nobody loves me. Come on, let's get up. No greater love. But that's what we do. Now, I've been trying this comedy thing out. I'll be honest with you. You guys are my second audience, okay? Numero dos. I got some groupies in the building, just to point them out. Cindy Young, groupie. Goggy, groupie. Missy, groupie. This armor bearer of mine, Jeannie, over here, groupie. They follow me everywhere. Oh, Bowen, groupie. Woo, woo! Wait till I get the tour bus. I'm going to have a special seat for them. I'm going to have a special seat for them all to sit in on my tour bus. Right now I got a minivan, but we're working on it. Now, one of the things that I learned, because I'm telling you, I went to see like 2,000 comedy shows to get ready to do this. Because it's hard at 60 years old to just go, I'm just going to get out there and just see if I can be funny. That ain't easy. So I went to like 2,000 comedy shows to try to see what they were doing. Okay, so I went to two comedy shows. There's something about that, right? Whew, it's hard to lie when that's right behind you. I think sometimes what we got to do is just take a big one along with us everywhere we go. Just get you a little wagon, put a cross in it, and just go to work with it. Just drag it along behind you. You go to the store, take that wagon with you. Anybody messes with you, you go, I got this, I'm cool, calm, cool, and collected. I love you, you're sweet. Come to church with me on Sunday. It'd be really great if you could do that, right? Now, you could just wear one around your neck. Oh, that's dangerous. That's dangerous. Because guess what? You can't see it. But everybody that's looking at you can. And guess what they say? Oh, look, she's a Christian. She's a Christian. And then maybe you're just thinking about doing something inappropriate. You know, you're on the other side of town. Your fellow brothers and sisters, they don't go over there. So you might just go do something maybe that's not just befitting your supposed Christian lifestyle. And that same person that saw that little cross goes, "Ooh, look what she is doing. She calls herself a Christian." So it's not the same. That's a little bit different. I'm telling you, just get a big one. Just, sometimes put it on your shirt, something to keep you reminded of what's going on and who you're supposed to be serving. But one of the things that I learned from going to see these two comics was that, did you know that all comedians can sing? It beats all I've ever seen. I went to 2 comedy shows, and those people had voices like you would not believe. They opened their mouth and it just poured out. So I just decided, if I'm going to do comedy, I guess I'm going to have to sing. Y'all ready? Okay. This is good. Now y'all get your ears on. I don't think this mic's working that great. Amazing grace. No, I can't sing. I cannot sing. I wish I could sing, but I can't sing. That's not it. I'm not going to subject you to any more of that right now. I promise you that, I'll leave that alone for a few minutes. But I did want to tell you some things about life that just really puzzle me. There are just some things that just make me curious. Now, one of those things is why we're afraid of everything. Why are we so afraid? Why are we so full of fear? My armor bearer constantly, I'm telling you what, this Miss Jeannie right here, y'all all need a Miss Jeannie in your life. If you ain't got one, find one. Get with her tonight. She'll tell you where to buy one. These are the greatest people, because these are the people that will not let you speak fear over yourself. These are the people that say, We believe in faith, not fear. Faith, not fear. Take a step in faith, not in fear. But we're so afraid. Now, my number one fear in this whole world is roaches. I'll just be blunt. I never met a roach I liked. I know God created them. I'm not sure why. I've done some research. I can't find anything in any of my research that says there's a good reason for a roach to exist. Not like they're food for some other species, or they just walk around looking disgusting. There's big roaches in Florida. I know y'all have seen some in here because y'all got them big trees out there. They love big trees. And then there's them aggravating little roaches. They call them like German roaches or something. I don't know why they call them that. I guess Germans are little and mean. I don't know, but they call them German roaches. And those little roaches, I hate those things. And I'm going to tell you what, I'm scared to death of them. Now, look at me. How much bigger am I than a little roach? You think David and Goliath, there was a difference there? What about me and a roach? But I'm going to tell you what, if I see one, I am going to find him. I'm going to catch him. I am going to kill him. Then I'm going to get a piece of tissue. I'm going to pick him up. I'm going to walk to my bathroom. And I'm going to flush him just in case he comes back to life. I am scared of roaches. Recently, I was someplace, and I was in a shower, not my own. You ever get in a shower and you feel like somebody's watching you? And you're like, ah! Jumped out of the shower. There is a roach on the shower wall. I'm not lying, he's 4 feet long. Well, maybe he was only 2.5 inches, but he looked 4 feet long when I got out of the shower. Now, again, I could not let him scoot, because I was going to be sleeping there. So I had to put my big girl pants on, and I had to go in there and get that guy. But before I did, I suited up, pushed my sleeves way back, put my house coat semi over my head, tied the strap around my neck, and I went into the bathroom with a flip-flop. And let's just say, it was like a cremation. There was not much left when I got through with that roach. But isn't it the same way with us and stuff that we're afraid of? Little minuscule stuff in life that we let make us fearful when we have an almighty God on our side that can give us anything and take us out of any situation in the twinkling of an eye, and we get scared. We get scared. We get sick. We get scared. You know, I have buried a lot of family members. Me and Goggy and my brother are the only 3 left out of that family of 8. And I know y'all can tell we ain't that old. Okay? Everybody died and left us really early in life. Sandra's mom died, and Steve's mom. Billy, my brother, died. Just left us suddenly. And death is something that it's easy to be afraid of. But you know what? When you think about what you go on to, it should take the sting away. It should take the sting away because we know we're going on to something far greater than that. Death, where is thy sting? Grave, where your victory? Not there. But if you're not right with God, it still holds a sting. Still holds a sting. And you have a right to be afraid. But there's all sorts of little things like that that we're afraid of that we don't need to be afraid of. Now, the other thing that I like to do is sometime in this presentation, I got a little joke that I stole, and I have to tell it because I just think it's funny. There's a little guy, this big church, they were having a celebration for Veterans Day. And so they had a table set up out front with all these pictures of these servicemen that had died in battle, you know, that had gone to their church through generations. And so everybody was being respectful and walking by and reading it, and some people were in tears. And so this grandpa had his little grandson by the hand, and he's taking him around. And so the kid's curious, you know, he goes, "Pops, what is that? What is this all about?" He said, "Son, this is a celebration of the people who gave their life in service." He died in service. He said, "The 9 o'clock or the 10:45?" He was ready to get out of there. I told my pastor that joke, and she didn't get it at first. She's like, "What?" Like, you don't have no sense of humor. But I also wonder another thing. I wonder about why we get fat when we eat. Now, everybody's got to eat. You all got to eat. You can't stop eating. You stop eating, you're going to die. You've got to eat. Wouldn't it be better if we got fat when we lied? Can you just imagine going to a used car lot, pulling up, that guy walks out? You go, you march yourself right back in there and get me a skinny dude. I am not buying a car from you. I work in the financial services industry. My boss is about 300 pounds. You would not buy anything from him if you got fat when you lied. But instead we get fat when we eat. We enjoy eating. I used to weigh almost 300 pounds. And that's a chunky little thing. I had gastric bypass surgery 5 years ago and have been able to keep my weight off, so I'm real happy about that. But, yeah, I'm going to ask God about that. When I get there, I'm going to say, "Hey, let's talk about this." But the other thing that just really drives me insane is gourmet grocery stores. Why? Why? I don't get it. I know some of you are probably fascinated with them, and you love going to them. Well, first thing, if I go to Winn-Dixie, they give me a normal-sized cart because they know I'm going to buy a bunch of food. So I go to Winn-Dixie, I got a big old cart. I can put as much stuff in there I don't need as I want to. You go to Chef's Market, they give you a cart that looks like it was made for my 3-year-old. You got to kind of stoop down to push it around the store. And then you get there, and in this fancy store, it's real pretty. But in this store, everything's in these barrels. And I'm like, "Hey, that little kid over there just stuck his hand down, and I don't want none of that stuff." And then they got all this stuff that's organic. Organic. I ain't got no beef with organic food, but it was better when you grew your own organic food. Because now they're finding out that organic food ain't necessarily always the best because some of the stuff they're fertilizing with ain't too good for you. So that's always puzzled me. Like, why would you go to a grocery store with a tiny little cart and pay $155 for your tiny little cart versus going to Winn-Dixie with the big old cart and coming out for $75. And I don't even work for Winn-Dixie, but that just makes sense to me. Doesn't make any sense to me, gourmet grocery stores. Well, I got one more little story about my life I'm going to tell you. This is a good one. My sister's sitting right there. And my sister is married to my daddy. Are you curious? You ought to be. My sister is married to my daddy. And before you start calling the pastor and saying, I don't know what you brought up here in our church, but she was messed up. Remember this. This is the story. My sister's 10 years older than me. Oh, I just said how old you are. So she's 10 years older than me. And when I was 8 years old, she got married. I was really not happy about this situation, although I was somewhat happy because I finally had a room to myself. But I kind of loved terrorizing her, so it was kind of sad. You know, they were all moved out. And then I knew it was just going to be me and the two old people, so I was not too happy about that. But she marries this guy, and he's 8 years older than her. So he was 18 years older than me. Now, my daddy, my real daddy, was an alcoholic. I loved my daddy. And the grandkids loved him too. He was a good daddy. But my daddy had this one little problem. He was an alcoholic, and he was not a mean alcoholic. I never got beat. He was not that type of alcoholic that came home and kicked. First of all, if you'd have kicked Mama G around, she'd have broke your neck. So you did not kick my mother. He knew better than that. She did hit him with the phone one time and put like 100 stitches across his head because he told her to get off the phone too many times. So, yeah, it wasn't none of that. But he never was violent. But he'd be at home. Everything would be great. He'd go to the store for a gallon of milk. And he wouldn't come home for 3 months. 3 months later, we wouldn't know where he was, if he was alive, if he was dead. You know, I got some issues from that. Talk about fear of rejection and fear of someone just walking out and leaving you. Yeah, I got those. I got those hang-ups. Well, 3 months later, my dad just strolled in with the milk. I'm home. And my mother took him back every time. And during that whole time, I blamed my mom for everything. I used to tell people, my mom, she is so hard to get along with. I just can't stand her. She runs my daddy off. If she didn't nag all the time, my daddy wouldn't have left. But when I got to be a grown-up, a married woman, and I realized that if my husband walked off and didn't come home for 3 months, the locks would be changed. He would no longer have a home. Well, my daddy died when I was 23 years old, and I was not ready for that. And my sister's husband became my daddy. He had always been very good to me. They always took me places. And I never really kind of figured it out till after I was grown that they would take me places when he was gone. And I realized that they all knew I was hurting, and they were always constantly trying to make it better for me. And he and I got so close over the years that me and Melissa fight over who's the favorite. But I know I'm the favorite because I'm the oldest. But that's my daddy. So that's the story about how I'm really, my sister's husband is my daddy. Now, I thought about singing to you one more time. And I can sing that same song. I can sing it a little more jazzy, like, Amazing Grace, Amazing Grace, Amazing. I put a little Elvis Presley in there. Didn't it sound like that a little bit? But I think I'm going to wrap this up another way. So y'all bear with me because this ain't easy for an old lady to do. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like this little clown. He reached down in the sand, took me by the hand, set my feet on a rock, and said, girl, we have to talk. He said, my grace is amazing, but it ain't free. I paid a price for you when I died on that tree. I bled for you while you were still in sin. And I did that knowing you'd sin again and again. So the next time you think about sinning, do me a favor. Look all the way back to the very beginning. And you just remember my grace, as amazing as it can be, I paid a price for you to be free. Good night. Thank you very much. Thank you. And look at there. Y'all going to get ice cream and it ain't going to be dark.